Professor, Physician, Epidemiologist. I am Dr. Sri Banerjee. Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University. This week in Research Theory, what you'll be going over is how to find a proper quantitative article. When many students are first starting out trying to find an article that is sufficient, then a lot of times students go into a meta-analysis. Please note that meta-analysis does not fulfill the requirements of a quantitative study. So what I did here in this segment is I pulled up one of my personal articles that I actually published with Dr. Panis, and this was actually talking about the triple threat between cardiorenal syndrome and diabetes. Even though cardiorenal syndrome, just a side note, seems like one disease, in fact it is two diseases, renal and cardiovascular at the same time. Diabetes is an extra comorbidity that makes things move faster, progress, and cause a lot of disease and eventually mortality. So what defines a quantitative article? Diabetes and cardiorenal syndrome. As soon as you look in the abstract, you can find out what are the results. And as you can see, one of the telltale signs of quantitative study is you'll see p-values. Not always is this quantitative. Most of the times, and then you'll see an odds ratio which has a 95% confidence interval of 6.13 and 7.75. So for those of you that are well versed in quantitative, can you tell from just the confidence interval if it is significant or not? If you said it is significant or that you can find that out, then you are correct. Usually when the confidence interval is between is over 1, then that is considered statistically significant. So the confidence interval should not include 1. The next thing that you want to look for is how many times or what the odds ratio is. So when it's 6.89, there's two ways to interpret it. It's 589% increase, or 6.89 times higher for CKD to no CKD. These are some fine nuances that you don't necessarily need to know at this point. It's good to be well rehearsed in that, so that when you're doing your dissertation or your capstone, then you're halfway done by knowing this. So diabetes is strongly associated with type 2 cardiorenal syndrome. And type 2 cardiorenal syndrome is actually when it's a chronic disease, and when the heart, like say heart failure, starts to affect the kidneys, then the kidneys are starting to affect the heart. When this simultaneously happens in a chronic manner, then it's known as type 2 cardiorenal syndrome. So the reason I selected this article is because there's a lot of different components to this, and it's actually open access. Not many of my articles that are peer-reviewed and scholarly article is open access. This one is the exception. Actually, the publisher provided the cost for publishing at open access. Many times you'll see in journals article schemes is that you are required to buy open access. Again, this is beyond the scope of this course, or beyond the scope of this assignment. However, I think it is important to note some of these things. So try to, and I would strongly recommend, in fact, it's almost required, to find the full open access article, or go to the library. If you can't find an open access any other way, a Google search or any other way, go ahead and visit the Walden Library, and they have an extensive amount of journals that they carry. So just because it's not there, look elsewhere. Don't think that you can't find the full text anywhere. So this is the full text portion. We write the introduction, Dr. Panis and I. And then we go into methods, the Cockcroft-Gault equation you'll see here. And this was what was used to, I remember the calculation, we used to measure glomerular filtration rate. And there's some controversy that has been called into question in terms of what scoring mechanism should be used where. As it turns out, there's different classification systems, which needs to be understood better. I actually talked with a person that is responsible for comparing renal sort of deficiencies and seeing which one works the best. So here are the results, and I'm not going to go over everything. I just wanted you to get a flavor of an article which is quantitative. I hope this has given you enough information to complete your assignment this week, and I've added some content in here which is, while it is beyond the scope of the course, I think it's good for you to get to know. Thank you for listening.